whereas this thing is actually a live production studio.
But you know what Steve wanted?
No.
We're trying to start Spalding TV.
Oh, okay. Well, this is live production. This is, you know, so there's like OBS and Twitch and all the things that like gamers use.
Yeah.
And then there's like all the super high-end production things. And then there's like Blackmagic and Epiphan are the two kind of prosumer brands that do this stuff. So Blackmagic's got a box that does some of the same things, but Epiphan box does a little bit more, and it's a little bit easier to use, and it's about the same price. We sell both of them.
So that's the other box you're talking about, right? Or
The
one we got now?
the interface will, the one you have now has a computer input and one camera input, and it will record and stream. I think it may even do 2 separate streams. Whereas the bigger boxes have more inputs and more outputs. Like the biggest box will do 6 camera inputs or computer inputs. Make sure deposit all of those, record all of those, and also send out 6 streams to different services.
Yeah,
They're in your folder.
I think so.
LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all of them.
Hey, y'all.
That's sweet. Yeah, we got a little more into that, definitely.
Yep, there's a bunch of videos. I'll send you some stuff.
Yeah, definitely do that. All right, man, appreciate that, man.
Yes, sir.
Good looking
Yes,
out.
sir.
All right, man,
Try to.
It'll be good, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank y'all.
How are y'all tonight?
If you'll put your name,
Good.
little name card out. It's in, right in your
I
folder,
can't
from
complain.
right to the back. And I
How's
need to
everything
know
with
what
you?
y'all want, and what you do not want anymore.
Seems like you and I are here a lot lately.
Sure.
Seems like we're here a lot lately.
What's going on?
Yeah, I get it.
Look on that side of me. No, I don't know. Did you take your name out? You got yours. I feel like the world knows who I am. Well, then, I'm sorry. I don't know. They've been in the folders all along. So we need to amend the agenda to include an executive session.
Can we, yeah,
This is not in the agenda.
there should actually be one. That should be treated just like any other information, so.
Anthony's on it, it's all right.
Okay. Right.
We certainly can. It's a warrant. I know. It's or agenda. They've been in here the whole time. See, he has his, and I was there. You have
I got mine.
yours.
I kept up with my,
I think that's the problem.
I kept up with my stuff.
But we can't.
They would send that over.
I mean, if it was the, really was to sign, then we would have to.
If nobody else says thank you tonight, I will
We don't,
be.
thank you very much. So,
Who knows what I have.
Kim's got, Kim, you got everything that you noticed broken already in the ticket for the meeting, right? And
Yeah,
so-
we're working on it right now. They came out this past Friday and
Well,
did
well,
some things,
we
and then
can-
the rest has got.
So as long as there's tickets in before the warranty expires.
Oh, we're good. He said that
But
even
it's-
if, he said even if it's, which it won't be, he said even if it was first next year to December, we're fine because it's documented.
Right.
But we're not, but we have, we've got a finalization, we've just gotta go. There's 3 scanners and.
Yeah, we can, so, I mean, we're just gonna have to just table that until this court case gets heard, because based off of the plea, I mean, you'll look up the US, district case, but Dominion voting systems or, breaking Georgia election
No,
Okay.
keep getting stuff prepared. As far as us committing to spend any money or anything else, like right now, tonight, like we need to just wait and
I
wait.
mean, I just don't think you can commit Spalding County to pay $30,000 anyway at this point.
Well, correct. Well, it would be us.
It's far out.
Well, it would be us asking, us approving this to ask for a grant. I do know that Jenna already had 28 in the budget, I think, or at least she did in July, so remember, because that had been sent to March Lee, back in February and March, so there's been plenty of notice, it's just gone up about 28K. Exact same time. So, I mean, I think the money's already there, but I don't think we need to do anything until.
They got a few more things that are going along.
So the wording.
I mean, I can just say that. Was there Christmas party?
So,
Review it.
Yes.
I'll get you to read it and somebody can.
Jen's coming, Jen Newland's coming, so we will have.
So executive session for litigation, and then was there any other?
Where do we go for executive session?
We're going in that room.
Okay, is it locked? We have access to it?
It's not usually long.
I've never been. Actually, that's not true. I haven't been here.
Right, I need to strike or simply go to right rather than the other that was there.
Since we don't have anything on there, I mean, I'd like to use the consent agenda if we had.
So it would be good, it would be good.
Just leave it there.
Old business. And then they, so the agenda people put their position in the middle, they put all these
Well, this goes way down, doesn't it?
pretty while since all of this stuff. It's like
She is taking minutes of where she had to be. Huh? Okay, where did you sit before? Were you here? Okay, okay, I can move, cause I can shift to there.
Absolutely anyone.
Oh, it doesn't matter, I don't know when, are you having to stay there to do that?
I can do it.
No, I mean, I just think, so, are you sure? Okay.
So, yeah, I think what we want to do is
So, I think,
whatever.
Williams may ask that all, this is violations be part of the next report. I think that was all, anything that was a variation or omission didn't work for.
I guess I should have been, that's just how I do it. So we don't, but if you don't need to,
So I don't want to, because there were any violations per se.
I think it was violations for the equipment.
Okay. So is there another, I don't want to change anything material. So, okay, so,
And I was thinking violations that had transpired that I had come across, that's the way
okay,
I perceived it.
violations of, broken law.
And Carl Brothers can be here to discuss it, because he's been,
Is that,
it's all, it's about
make more
when you
sense?
board
Oh,
suit.
If I recall, it was any mechanical problems, machine problems, any.
Hey, y'all.
people that were-
Thank y'all for being here.
Was it,
The motions to dismiss,
slow down,
okay,
um,
the motions to dismiss were denied, but this is
okay.
something
So I just, whenever we read this one,
Uh-huh.
then I will make an amendment.
Okay. And
So
it's
then
something.
it's expressed that all
It's still, you know.
killers, that all, bonuses issues. Be reported. And I'll read this out. How are you, ma'am?
I'm good, Lori, how are you?
I can't complain.
So this is the announcement of the week, and like solar, it's just for people that have solar. All software probably has to be
Yeah. No, you'll have to give it back at some point, or give me yours, and I'll I'll write the same thing on yours for me. Yeah, but I need to be able to say what the motion's gonna be to amend. It's like, see, and here's where you actually reported it. You told us that there were printer jams.
The other way is tougher.
These things. Hey, man. Hi. So you did that.
Yeah, but this was in October, so,
That's November.
yeah, this is after
Right,
that.
right, but I asked you to, in the future, tell us these things. You did.
Okay. All right, yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, so you already got this?
Kim, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I've got it notated.
Okay, thank you.
It's good to see you.
And busy.
There's gonna be one correction on these minutes. So this is October 12th. What are you wearing tonight? It's very, very nice.
Thank you. Okay, Kim did these
Yeah,
minutes,
yes,
I did
and-
not.
Okay, and she's got, I just didn't know if you needed it for anything.
No, she
Okay.
will have to do
She's
those
doing it.
corrections.
She's got it. I'm just trying to
Thank you.
make sure that we're,
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay, you tell me something. See that? Okay, I don't remember.
You're gonna make those corrections when you approve those minutes in the meeting.
yes, ma'am.
I don't remember.
That's why I
that, but
didn't know
I'll
if I
let
needed
you
to
know.
tell you.
All right, thank you, Christine. Right, if you didn't, okay, that's fine. Take care of something.
Hey, Christine.
Hey, Miss Christine.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Hey, how are y'all?
Was she saying that you made that?
What are you gonna do today?
I'm doing minutes.
Yeah, tonight.
You may see me anywhere all over town.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got that.
Yeah,
Okay,
church is just
I'll
my,
give you this
my
afterwards.
most full-time gig.
Okay.
How are you?
Okay, good. So, y'all, how are you, Roy?
I'm trying to keep my head above water, but as short as I am, sometimes that's difficult.
It's hard, isn't it? It's a struggle.
Yeah.
But when
You know what, I just, since gas prices the way they are and everything, I just had to cut back stuff.
he would start off almost every.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to cut back a lot of things.
If you want to have a conversation about the economy, this is probably not the time or place. Because
Yeah.
I'm going to go someplace with it that we don't want to have that conversation.
I don't know, it might be interesting.
No, ma'am. I'm in enough trouble already.
You okay tonight, Jim?
I am, how are you, Christine? Good to see you.
This is their investigation, this is not theirs. He said what he said. I've heard enough, even from
I feel like you guys are a long ways away, but. Hey, Roy. No, I'm gonna stay over here.
It's good to see you, James.
I feel like you're more out of trouble over here.
No.
I'm using one of
I
my
do.
hearing aids, so I don't know, weird, mine broke. I gotta go down to the VA and put a new one on it. And the world says
So it's this ear or that?
that's the one that got blown out.
Oh, I got you, okay.
Ben,
Yes, ma'am.
don't forget to give me the minutes that you signed.
I'm signing this stuff right now.
All right.
Try to get that done before.
They need to be approved, they need to be approved, but yeah. One of them has been cured.
So I got
There shouldn't be.
it was just the two
Yeah.
three signatures.
But one of the ones will be the minutes, I'll have to get. Right to you. Teresa to sign.
There was two signatures and.
Yeah, no, but did you only have two steps?
You only have two. Facilities, threat review.
Okay. That's good.
Are we expecting some unruliness tonight?
Potentially.
This is what I needed. I needed Teresa to sign this.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry. I need you, I came across this, and it needs your signature.
Okay,
Okay.
is that a correction?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
It could have been me just accidentally.
Okay.
I should have brought you one.
I got one.
It's one of those things that I had just came into. That was.
I take it you're gonna give us some information
Thank you,
tonight.
Teresa.
You're welcome.
Well, whether we like it or not is beside the point, but it'll be information.
Oh, we expecting everybody tonight?
No, this is all you have.
Okay,
Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Jester won't be able to join us.
okay.
That's why you called me.
Yes, you're so important,
Thank you.
especially today.
Especially tonight.
Even more than normal.
This is where I was that other night when I was at the meeting over here. I got dropped off and then
You,
had a car.
you did well tonight.
I did well tonight. I apparently missed a small line at the bottom of a note.
Um,
Okay.
I might just tell them here.
You gonna do the invocation and pledge? I'm gonna go ahead and put you down.
He's gonna do the prayer, Ben's gonna do the pledge.
Who's gonna do the prayer? Jim?
Give everybody a chance, equal opportunity to.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Great.
Kim? Do y'all require sign-ups for speakers?
Yes, ma'am.
And I'll go pick that up in a couple minutes.
T-minus 2 minutes. Two-minute warning noise.
Oh, okay.
And we're
Well, I'll
already,
take- I'll take it.
and we're already live.
I know I was too.
So what is it? That talks right.
Thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Would like to welcome everybody to our December 14th meeting of the Board of Elections in Spalding County. It's a regular meeting. Please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. And if everybody would stand, James is going to do the invocation, and we'll all turn around and do the pledge.
Gracious God, we ask you to be with us this evening, that our deliberations might be pleasing in thy sight. We pray for your divine guidance in all matters that come before us. Help us to bring the voters of Spalding County the service they deserve from their Board of Elections. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Very good. Citizen comment section, we do not have anyone signed up for citizen comment, so just get to reading that section. Do I need to, we just skip this, okay. Just real quick, I believe we are streaming live to YouTube tonight. So we're good to go. So, hello, anyone out there on the internet. There's another point of personal privilege. There's a Log4j security thing going on right now that's affecting lots of people all around the world. So if anything happens during the stream, it might be that. And encourage everybody to read the news tomorrow and make sure that they check with all of their software vendors to make sure that they're not affected. This appears to be like really, really bad. So with that, moving on to adoption of the agenda. Since we've already got the executive session on, so we don't have to change anything on that, right? Do we have any changes to any additions or changes to the agenda? Do we have a motion to, yes, sir?
Make a motion that we accept the agenda.
Okay, Roy, made a motion to accept the agenda. James, second. All in favor? 3-0, agenda is adopted as written. Minutes, Kim was nice enough to circulate the minutes early. Do we have any, did I give you my copy of the minutes already, I think?
You did.
Okay, would you mind? I got it, right here, very good. If y'all will look over, if you haven't yet,
Mr. Chairman, I have one correction to the October 12th minutes.
okay.
It is in the second page under board member comments. I believe that sentence should read, Roy McLean asked that voting system issues be reported at the next meeting.
Which section is that in?
That is in the board member comments section.
Oh, okay, ask that.
Roy McLean asked that voting system issues be reported at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay, do we have any other corrections?
I have one on November the 8th that you want to deal with the October 1st.
So if we have no other corrections, we just need a motion to accept those minutes as amended.
Make the motion. Yes, sorry.
Roy moves to accept the amended minutes.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay. We've accepted those minutes, approve those minutes, and we can move on to October 12th. And Roy, you said you
No,
had.
I'm mistaken. November the 8th is not a correction.
Oh, yeah, I have 2 pages, sorry about that. Yep, so, yes, November 8th. So, nothing on November 8th? So, yeah, we should.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes for.
All remaining minutes, right?
Second, yes.
All remaining minutes.
Okay, and we got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, we got the minutes out of the way. And Kim, I'm assuming you got the one correction, right?
Yes.
Good. All right, very good. Moving on, no consent agenda, no old business. Really appreciate
law enforcement being here tonight and everybody that, cared enough to come out. Really appreciate y'all, and, we will try to keep things as succinct and, on point as possible for everybody. There is a mistake, old business is on there twice.
That's because notice
Yes, ma'am.
has it set up
It was the
that
bug.
way, but
The
they're
bug,
working on
right.
corrections, so,
Yes, ma'am.
right. They automatically put those titles there.
If you wanna, make a mention of that in your report, welcome to, or not, either one, it's good. So new business, all right, we've got two and then the report. So first up is facility and security update, presented by Secretary Roy McLean.
Thank you,
Roy,
Mr.
sir,
Chair.
the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So as we've proceeded through this report, a couple of things have become apparent. One is that what we initially thought was going to be sort of just trying to capture the state of things in the office has really turned into something that will be, I would think, an ongoing report. And so as an interim report, it doesn't have to have a beginning or an end, and I would have things listed as either pending or complete. And as they become complete, I would think after maybe the second meeting, they would maybe go into, drop off of the report itself, but it would still be reported in the minutes, so we'd be able to capture that. Things that are pending would stay on until such time as we either have resolution or decide that they don't need to be captured anymore. A couple of things from the report. This report's been circulated a number of times. As of the...
So Roy, just to summarize, you're saying security is not the destination, it's a journey.
It's a trip. And so as part of that, I would bring to your attention two specific items that have maybe bigger connotations, so we'll have a brief conversation about that. And so in the election management system, that system was found logged on with passwords, old and new, pinned to a notepad file which was open to the login screen at 11:22 on August the 3rd in 2021. This was witnessed by an employee of the Board of Elections and Registration, along with someone who was doing the walkthrough. Additionally, the room to that door, the west side, was found unsecured, and the employee stated that it had been open since Marcia left in April, and that the staff did not have a key to that room. It should be noted that the county cleans in the Board of Elections registration space, and there are normally multiple prisoners that are employed in this work with a single guard to supervise them. The cleaning crew did clean the Board of Election registration space while the ad hoc committee was conducting the walkthrough, and that is pending. And so I will have a question about how we need to report that or what we need to do when I get to the end of the report. The second thing that has become sort of a question is, additionally, there seems to be much more security paper on hand than a county of this size, Spalding, should have had for its day-to-day operations and under its control. The election-specific materials are now secured in cabinets and out of sight. And so at some point, someone probably needs to do an accounting, an audit of that paper to make sure how much was ordered, how much we have left, and how much may have been used to this point. And that's the only two things that I bring out of the report. The report speaks for itself other than that.
So Roy, on the next page,
Yes, sir.
during LNA,
Yes,
it
sir.
was found that the ballot marking devices, how many of those were still in? So the ballot marking devices are the things that you, for the audience, and for anybody that doesn't know, are the units that you insert your smart card in and that print the ballot. Many of those were found.
Yeah, I don't have the exact
still
number,
in-
but a significant number.
So many of those were found in election day mode, and that would mean that they still could actually, if someone had physical access, like if doors were unlocked and open, and plug them up, they could actually print, at that point, print ballots. So
That's correct,
I
Mr.
guess,
Chair.
I guess my concern there would be, paper is unsecured, ballot marking device is unsecured. As you stated, we just need to do math and figure out if there's any significant amount of paper that, you know, is missing or counts are spot on. I think that we would be able to determine that based off of the counts off the printers. Don't expect you to figure that out, but, as part of the ongoing, security journey, if we can, get someone, assigned to do that accounting, that would be much, much appreciated. Okay, and then additionally, in the report, the storage of election-specific materials.
Yes, sir.
So, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
That's the second sentence that I read. Additionally, there seemed to be much more security paper on hand that a county the size of Spalding should have had for day-to-day operations. And now seems that's now under control, and those materials have been secured.
So they are secure now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So skipping to page 1, 2, 3, 4, the storage of administrative and election-specific materials. Oh, that was that.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Yes, sir.
what about I thought the storage unit, was that in?
Are you speaking of the
I'm using
ballots
that
and
word.
all of the materials that were stored?
Right,
So on a separate issue, and that hasn't been added, that was only found a day or so ago.
okay,
In going with the clerk of the Superior Court over to our storage facility, we found that, and I'm not trying to place blame or point fingers here, but for some reason, those materials had to be moved from where they were stored at the courthouse to an off-site storage location. And when that happened, it happened very quickly. And so those boxes are literally just piled in the floor, from the beginning of the storage facility to the rear, shoved up against some other files, and there's no way to be able to go through and, in an orderly manner, search for documents. So a couple of,
that would affect our ability to answer open records requests.
Absolutely.
And has affected our ability to answer some of those.
And
Yes, sir.
I spoke with the clerk of Superior Court yesterday, and she indicated that, as we know anyway, that there's no way to respond to open records requests timely, because if she's in court, she can't leave to even grant us access.
that's right.
If we want to move those boxes to another location, we're gonna need a court order likely to do that, which is not a problem, but there is no place in the courthouse to store them, and Ms. Brooks was told by the fire marshal that she had to move them out of there.
I didn't want to throw anybody in the
Out
bus.
of-
Well, it's,
Okay, so that's why they ended up where they are now.
Yes.
So, I guess Roy, if you could, work with Stephanie on both the legalities as well as the logistics of making sure that we're,
first we need to determine a space that we can actually.
well, that as well as making sure that, particularly all the the past 22 months of election records are, are there and are in one place. I think
I have some ideas. I'll get with our attorney and see what her recommendation is.
Yeah, and as Stephanie said, I'm in ignorance of what the legalities of moving from one spot to another, but, it would be my preference if we had dedicated space just for elections records. It wasn't actually a shared facility, but,
I'll take it for action.
or it was at least partitioned in some form or fashion. Okay, James, did you have anything else on the report?
No.
Okay. Also, I think to follow up on that, what Roy mentioned was, particularly the election management server being discovered, logged on, and the room being unsecured for months. You know, the Secretary of State's office, attorneys, everybody already knows about that, but, they've additionally replaced the equipment that was left, on and exposed, but we haven't really gotten clear guidance, from their investigative division or their attorneys as far as the proper process in which to report that. We don't wanna fail in our fiduciary duties to secure elections and not timely report things that we find, but also we don't want to just go and report every single little thing or whatever. So do we continue legally, do we continue following what Roy is doing and accumulate possible violations or anomalies as we find them, try to make a decision on what to do, and then write a letter, or is how do we report these?
It really, it depends on the severity of what we find, and if we find something that we need to report, then self-reporting is always the best, alternative. But we don't want to report things that aren't necessary, because as I was telling the chairman, the state election board meeting today went from 9 o'clock this morning till almost 5 o'clock this afternoon.
They're quite busy.
They are very busy.
On that issue, we're, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
On the issue-
Let's make sure we're using the mics as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Okay,
on
is
the
that
issue
better?
of the State Board of Elections meeting today, I'm sorry I was ignorant of that, but were we discussing that?
No, we did
Good.
not have anything on the agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's still a good learning experience, though, to listen,
What not
if
to,
anyone's interested.
what not to do. Okay, I don't think, since this is an interim report, we don't really need to accept it or do any further actions. Okay. Well, so Stephanie, in your opinion, say the election management server and or those ballot marking devices, you know, does that rise to the level of needing to be reported?
I think the server does. I did think that had already been
Reported.
reported.
Well, we verbally reported it, and they know about it for sure, but, you know, it was never put in a letter and,
I don't think we're under any obligation
Okay.
to do anything other than what we've already done.
okay, if, you know, I'm totally good with that as well, so, all right, does that satisfy your,
You've given me two
right?
action items. I'll take care of that.
And as far as the report, you mentioned, how do we report things as you find them? Is that
I'm good.
Stephanie's got it?
Absolutely.
Good enough? Okay. All righty. Dominion contract. Where to start? So I'm going to do my best to very briefly outline what I've discovered since becoming chair. So it was prior to becoming chair, it was my understanding that, you know, Dominion voting systems was chosen by all the counties in Georgia in some sort of democratic process, and that's how we came about having, you know, this vendor. Since becoming chair, actually it was on the call where we were discussing the EMS server being left on. Discovered that the contract is actually between the Georgia Secretary of State's office and Dominion Voting Systems, and you know, there is no agreement between Spalding County and Dominion Voting Systems. Additionally, so then I'm like, okay, well, Secretary of State's office is on the hook for providing support, for providing hardware warranties, for if there's glitches or updates or any of those words that have came out lately, you know, we need some sort of guaranteed response if on election day something goes wrong with the software. How do we guarantee somebody is going to answer the phone or come out and help us? And you know, frankly, the answer was quite deficient. We were told that that's a work in progress, and there's currently no agreements between the Secretary of State's office and, I believe the words were, any counties in Georgia. And that the hardware and software was on permanent loan from the Secretary of State's office to the counties in Georgia. So we have paid up, on permanent loan to the county, Dominion voting system software. We have like a field rep, and there's no dedicated technical resource I'm aware of. And then we've got the Secretary of State's CES division for support and training as well. To date, we haven't been charged for any additional support beyond having someone on site on election day. So they haven't charged us for anything, but additionally, there's nothing there between us and the vendor to guarantee anything either. So where we are right now is that we have what I believe was budgeted at about $28,000. The Secretary of State's office, in their original contract with Dominion, I think 3 years ago, they had, through the end of this year, the Secretary of State was paying for the hardware warranties on the ballot marking devices, the image cast precinct, the big black boxes that scan in your ballots, as well as the server and computers and scanner and the rest of the equipment. That warranty expires on 12/31, and now it's up to all of the counties in Georgia to foot the bill for this equipment. And instead of $28,000, the current quote is $31,045 for 1 year hardware warranties for just the hardware. And again, there's still no mention of any sort of software licensing or any sort of software support. So, and I haven't been able to get any answer or any clarity around how that relationship, is valid, basically. I don't really know any other words to say. Additionally, one of the U.S. district courts had found, I believe earlier this year, that due to the QR codes not being human readable, I'm going to abbreviate the case, that the Dominion voting system 5.5, the version that we're on, basically is breaking Georgia election law, and is not legal to use. So there's a case that was either dismissed, but it's being heard tomorrow about that. I think it's Singleton versus I don't have the Singleton is the suing party, and I'm assuming Secretary of State or I think Raffensperger's the defendant. So that's going to be tomorrow. I don't really feel like we can do anything when right now, the judicial opinion is that the equipment that we're using is illegal, which blows my mind. And additionally, we haven't been able to get any clarification from Dominion or the Secretary of State's office in terms of any sort of software support, service level agreements, support agreements around the software, and what we have is just a hardware warranty, which is important because we have a lot of things that are broken and they're fixing them, but it doesn't really help us if there are issues within the software or glitches or updates, as people have so often referred to them as. In the software world, sometimes they say it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? So anyway, it's my opinion that I don't think we can do anything with this at this point. Additionally, Dominion sent over, an additional, when we asked for a contract, they sent over what I guess I would describe as a non-disclosure agreement, as well as well, I mean, basically, at its core was an NDA and a limitation of liability document that really didn't refer to anything to do with the actual hardware support agreement. So there's this to pay and the contract to sign. Stephanie advised that we're not authorized to sign that document for Spalding County, so that's moot, in my opinion. And then as far as the warranty goes, it does expire 12/31. Kim's already been on the ball and already got tickets in on everything that we know is broken now. So, you know, until whatever happens in court gets settled out, I mean, I would advise that we table this and take it back up at a later date and after things have settled down. Or, you know, I mean, I guess we need to find out, are there any additional fees if we let this expire and then try to get it reinstated, or are they gonna charge us extra? But I don't see how we can do anything with this with the current situation being the way that it is.
Mr. Chairman, would you entertain a motion to table the item until a future date?
I'd like to ask one question first.
So does that need a second or a motion to table?
Was that a motion?
Was that?
I asked if you'd entertain a motion. You haven't accepted my motion. So you can call it, Jim.
Well, so.
There's no discussion on the motion to
Yeah,
table,
so well, if you have a question, let's go ahead and get your question.
When you said a judge, was that a ruling or an opinion?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, what I read today was, I think US Circuit, Court, and I don't know if it was a ruling or an opinion.
Because if it's a ruling, it's really gonna have some effect on us.
It will have an effect, I mean,
On the whole state.
if the case tomorrow, of Singleton versus Raffensperger is found in Singleton's favor, then, you know, basically all these machines will have to come out.
We're back to
That's
square one.
what that means,
Okay.
right? So, you know,
there will not likely be a decision tomorrow.
Yeah,
This
there
be
will-
the hearing of oral argument.
you're right, correct. So, so it starts tomorrow. I suppose would be a better word in there, Stephanie. Thank you. And yeah, so, and it was, I can't remember why it either got dismissed without prejudice or somebody didn't have standing or whatever, and now it's back on. So, you know, I don't know. So, did that get your?
Yeah, I just,
I will.
I don't want us to get blindsided if this is going to happen, which I'm sure we won't. I mean,
Well, it will.
We seem to be on top of it.
Yeah, sadly, everybody else in the state will be in the same boat with us.
Yeah.
And you know, voting Amish is always an option.
It is.
So we just have to have really small precincts. So yeah. So I mean, I don't expect this to be resolved anytime soon, and also I'm honestly very doubtful that we'll get, you know, that we will ever get satisfactory answers from either the Secretary of State's office or Dominion on the nature of the relationship between Spalding County Board of Elections and Registration and Dominion voting system. So
That's not how I like to do business, I'll tell you that.
you're right. Yeah, that's not how, I cannot do business that way.
No, me
So,
neither. No.
So that's why we've been pushing for answers, and we will continue to push for answers, but, so yeah, Kim, if you will just find out, you know, if we don't renew, or if we renew in March, or, you know, is there any, are there any penalties if we don't? It's, all the equipment's super expensive and, you know, not priced at what you could go to the store to get it at, because it all has to go through validation and verification process, et cetera, and is all loaded with proprietary and super secret data. You know, I mean, I get it, but it's just, I don't like a third party. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's legal for a third party to be able to force us into a contractual obligation to pay this. And I would assume that lots of other smaller counties, as well as bigger counties, are probably having very similar conversations.
I would think so,
And
yes.
Kim, that was gonna be what I was gonna ask you to, or do you have other counties that you can reach out to find out what they're doing? I can.
So Butts maybe, they're similar, and we've got a contact there. I mean, I don't see us eventually having a choice, but I mean, again, I you know, okay.
I think you have a motion.
We have a motion to
Waiting out
table,
there.
I
waiting out
second.
there. Second. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Very good. Okay. Next up, we just have those two things. Okay. Next up, the floor is yours, Kim. Report of election supervisor.
Yes. I have been asked to,
And try to use the
oh,
mic too.
sorry,
to
thank
speak.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
I was asked to compose an after-action review report. LNA testing, BMDs and ICPs, just so you know, BMDs are your ballot marking devices. That's what you're actually marking your ballot with. ICPs are your scanners, as they referred to earlier, the big black box where you actually insert your ballot. There's a list here. I can go through the whole list if you all would like for me to. The
Or-
breakdown of what was found during
So-
LNA.
So we're gonna attach both Roy's interim report and this to the minutes,
Mhm.
correct? Okay, so if you just wanna do anything that you wanna highlight?
Well, listed are all the challenges and things that were, issues that were found that occurred during the LNA testing. It did prove to be a welcome learning curve in preparation for an election. There were problems and challenges which we encountered, and that did significantly extend the amount of time that was spent on the process. Just to highlight, I guess, I broke it down by precinct. Your advanced voting precinct, where there were 5 BMDs. The poll had not been closed for the February election. In this, we had to go back to the state and acquire the information, codes, passwords for said elections to be able to enter that poll on the BMD and be able to close it out properly. Precinct 1, well, also in advance voting, 3 BMDs had not been closed for the January 2021 election as well. Precinct 1, miscellaneous items found.
Kim, let me,
Go ahead.
so, Stephanie, just those BMDs being in election day mode, that means that a valid ballot could be voted on those if they were turned on and if they were hooked up to a printer. They were not closed out and would be able to be used to vote.
Right.
So as far
It's
as level,
reported.
yes, that is not reported. That's in this report, but we didn't find this out. We didn't find this out until they were doing LNA testing immediately prior to the election.
But-
So this is a totally different issue.
Okay, I thought you said you had to get codes from the.
I did.
the
Well,
city
yeah, so
office to-
they verbally, they know that this was happening, but there was no, hey, it was in this, it was basically like, hey, we can't continue with this process. Tech support person, give us a code.
So you were speaking only to tech support, not to.
I was
the
speaking, I worked with
liaison?
CES on it,
So
which is
it
Center
might-
of Election System.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was
Michael
it was their
Barnes,
IT
Chris
department.
Blue.
I mean, I think it's probably appropriate to send this
Okay.
to our new liaison.
Okay.
Okay, and let her.
If
him
I
or
may,
her.
Who is the new liaison?
We've been through 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I believe it's Xavier Harris.
Okay, Xavier. Okay.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
if
sir.
I may. So one of the things that, as a person who was very involved with assisting in the LNA process and coming from a background of really not knowing, and I still don't know much, but I knew even less before I did LNA, a couple of things stand out to me. And one is that we seem to get conflicting, often, advice or information from the Secretary of State's office, and by that I mean in the bigger sense, from tech support or from different pieces. And it's a revolving door up there. I mean, people are changing out, people are leaving, and I'm not, again, throwing rocks at anybody, but it makes it very difficult when we worry about, have we told the right people the right information? And so from my past, one of the things that I've always been told is, what did you know? Who did you tell? What did they do about it? Because if you tell the wrong person and they don't do the right thing, we're still responsible. And so that's why my concern has been, how do we go about reporting these things? And my comfort level is that we capture as much as we can at each time, we put it in a letter and we send it up. If they do nothing with it, then at least we've made the notification. And I feel a little at ease when I have a piece of paper that says, we told you on this date and time these specific things. When we just have a phone call, or we have, well, we might have talked to tech support and tech support may have told the right people, but it maybe not. So I would like to establish some procedure that we follow. And one of the things that, you know, with new eyes, with fresh staff, we're finding a lot of things. And some of those things may or may not rise to the level of needing to be reported, but we just don't always know. And it's the one thing that you think, no, they know about that, that won't be a big deal, that we wind up getting caught up with. And I don't want that to happen going forward. So I guess what I would ask is that we think about what the process should be and how do we determine, you know, what rises to the level. If it is potentially a violation of law, if it's potentially a violation of code, if it's potentially a violation of Spalding County issues, you know, where does that need to go? So I would feel more comfortable if we had something a little more black and white to help us make these decisions. That's all I have.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think in the 2 particular cases that we have right now, in terms of, well, actually, one of the unreported issue in your report is this issue. So Kim submitting this report to our liaison in this particular case, I feel would be the most appropriate
I'm okay
thing.
with that.
But absolutely moving forward, I mean, we obviously have great legal advice,
Mhm.
but you know, what do you have anything beyond what you've already said to weigh in?
I think as Kim finds things, they should be listed, those things should be reported to you, and ultimately it would be your decision as to whether or not Kim's report should be submitted to the liaison. And it may be that you decide, and this might be the best decision, that as things are found, minor and major, if Kim makes it a habit of submitting her report to the liaison after your meeting, so you would review her report if y'all have anything to add, or if there are things that you don't think should be included, then you could give her that direction, and after that, then she could just forward it to the liaison and let the Secretary of State's office take it from there.
Okay.
I'm very comfortable with that.
And
That's good.
If that is not, if they don't want us to do that, then
They'll
we
tell
will
us.
be told quickly, I'm certain.
I think that sounds like a good solution. Okay. Anything else? Kim?
I was gonna finish up.
Carry on, ma'am.
Okay. So just in general to cover, basically, there were several, and I'll follow up later, several BMDs, ballot marking devices, that were found not to be in the correct version. There was an ICP found once we opened it to do our LNA with, there were keys, election data paperwork, pliers. These were just some of the things that we ran into. Several of the handicap BMDs, the headphone sets were either not working or broken. We found several lids that would not lock to the ICPs, so we had to just trade out, make sure we had the lids that would lock for election day, and we did. Also, the power, most all BMDs, there may have been a few precincts that were at a decent charge, but most were found at 1% power, no power charge at all. So this caused us to take more time, and it took about, I think, 2 to 3 hours to fully charge them. We had an ICP scanner that reflected the year 2020, so we reprogrammed it to reflect 2021. And then Precinct 20 also had a BMD not closed from the February 2021 election. That pretty much is general what we found on the BMDs while conducting the logic and accuracy testing on the BMDs. The logic and accuracy testing utilizing the poll pads was conducted successfully, with the exception of come across 2 poll pads that were slow charging, which we're presently working with no ink on. Moving on to
Kim, as far as the LNA, apologize for not being as much help as I should have, but I'd probably be in worse shape than y'all are in if I would have done it. It ended up taking what, 3 weeks?
A little over 3 weeks to complete.
And we had anticipated, quite aspirationally that it would only take about a week. So
right. And I found that not to be.
Well, 3 weeks is not abnormal, actually.
Well,
these days,
no,
right?
I mean, there are some counties who can have it completed before that, but they wouldn't have ran into issues that I have ran into.
Right.
The equipment was ready to go and just to conduct LNA testing on.
Right. So we
But
paid.
more than 1 week is definitely, it's not uncommon at all for
Gotcha.
counties to do.
Hopefully we'll have a much fresher, cleaner slate to work off of
Right.
come next one, and not have some of these pre-existing problems. Okay.
Okay, our poll worker challenge, and this is again, reflecting back on the November 2nd election. We had 61 poll workers. Out of the 61 poll workers, 36 were brand new. This was a tremendous challenge for the staff and myself as well, as there had not been any electronic records left from the prior administration. The lack of information and starting from scratch left the Office of Elections and Voter Registration at a very vulnerable place in regards to elections. There were an extraordinary amount of hours spent obtaining poll workers in a very short period of time. I will always be grateful to the poll workers who returned. There were some that returned, maybe if it was just for one time to help us out, and those who decided to take on the challenge in serving as a poll worker. Therefore, I began building a poll worker master list, and will proceed in conducting a poll worker outreach at the beginning of the year, so we don't find ourselves in this type of predicament again. Equipment status. Since being employed, I have listed, but then there's an update as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you the update. Stephanie Silavong and Xavier Curie visited from Dominion on this past Friday, December the 10th. The following maintenance and updates were completed. There were 33 ICX, that's BMDs. The versions were updated to the correct version, which is 5.5.10.32. Those had been 0.30. The updated version was sent to Spalding County Elections and Voter Registrations in October of 2020. However, these had not been updated, so therefore that update was,
So, wait a minute, so 33 of the devices that people voted on in November of 2020 and, well, in all the elections.
well, we cannot say that they were voted on. If you look at the contract, there's 192
Okay.
BMDs.
Okay,
So I
poten-
can't-
potentially those were not in circulation or not deployed.
We don't.
We just
right,
don't know.
just not-
Okay,
not
all right,
sure.
that's alarming, but,
So, and then 2 ICX BMDs were found with broken power buttons. These will be shipped to Texas for repair. 1 printer language needed updated to English, and now that they've updated that, that's something that we could not do. It has to be recertified by CES. We had 3 ICP scanners that will be shipped to Texas for repair. Out of those 3, 1 would not boot up, 1 would not stop beating, and 1 would not allow access to the menu. I inherited 2 of those. All of these issues were inherited with the exception of 1 of the ICPs. I did find after the election process and all, you could not access the menu, so that one will go as well.
and so, as far as did they promise anything as far as turnaround? I mean,
No, I have not.
they're gonna
Yeah.
have to be shipped by truck or something, right?
Right, there were boxes, but I have looked in the storage area, the extra storage area for the county, but I've not found any boxes that were kept for the scanners.
Oh,
So I'll have
So
to,
we're just shipping back the top part, not the whole
yes, we're
thing.
just
Okay, okay,
actually
that's-
shipping the scanner, not the whole box.
Thank you for clarifying.
Right. So Election Day, I'm pleased that to state that we had a successful election on November the 2nd. We did have a few hiccups. We successfully answered all phone calls and resolved any questions or concerns in a timely manner. Our goal was to ensure that all the poll workers knew that we were here to support them in their efforts of holding a successful election, as well as to answer any questions from voters. In those hiccups, L&A instructions, if you want to look at Exhibit A in your notes, led us to only re-zero the ICPs at the very end of L&A and not to close the poll at the end of the ICP logic and accuracy testing. Due to thorough training with the poll workers knew that the scanner should read open poll, not reopen poll. So therefore, they phoned us that morning. We quickly led them through the process of closing the poll, processing their zero tape, which is already a part of opening the poll, and then everything continued as normal. The poll pads, some precincts reported that the poll pads work better plugged into a power strip rather than into the wall, which is what we were instructed to train our poll workers. I spoke with No Ink David Greenwald. He stated that maybe the weakness is due to maybe power surges within the building, and the power strip protects from that power surge. That's just a suggestion. But the poll pads work well for the most part, but until the design is changed to better support the voter card encoder, along with the wire, there will continue to be challenges.
So just to clarify, these are all iPads and the things that program the smart cards are just plugged into the lightning port, and there's wires attached to it that pull down on it.
Right,
and
there's a wire that comes out of your voter encoder, and so that creates weight, and all that's holding the voter encoder to the iPad is just that little USB.
The lightning is what.
Right, so it's about like that little.
The newer models have USB-C, so whenever we have to buy new No Ink iPads, or if they replace any with newer models,
right,
they'll be more secure, but it's a poor design.
But it does present challenges because it will connect, disconnect, and therefore presenting problems for the poll workers.
So there was the one mention a couple meetings ago about us not being able to process, not be able to program cards, or it was slow. What was? Could you clarify that the process slowed down?
I
You fell
believe
back
the
to backup
process slowed down
procedure?
because they were plugged into, from what I heard from the poll workers, is when they were plugged into the wall, they were slower.
Okay, so that was so what you stated there was the issue that it was slowing the line down.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not going to say in all cases, but in some of the cases, so they plugged them into the power surge. And the issue was also with the wire, the weight of the wire and the encoder becoming disconnected as well. So,
Okay. Did you record have you already calculated the average wait times and all that good stuff?
we did. I do not have that with me, but they did
Okay,
report
you've
wait
got that.
times.
Okay.
They
All right,
did.
great. All right. Okay.
How
so
to improve,
What
I
can we
just-
do better?
That's right. What can we do better? I would like to work with the board and the county to increase storage and workspace. We are presently looking at how to better utilize the space that we have at present for various reasons. Just one example, moving all the required equipment for L&A to the Hall of Fame is an inconvenience as well as it is very time consuming. We also need to move all the workstations into the main office. I didn't put this here, should have from what I call the Dominion room where all the Dominion equipment is held. We need to move the workstations from there into the office to be able to access them better and to serve the public better as well. Forming a larger team for L&A. You know, this was a learning curve, but in the future, I would have a larger team to help conduct, after they're trained, to conduct logic and accuracy testing so that we can finish the logic and accuracy process in a better time frame. Because there was basically about maybe 2 of us at a time working on that. Continue to build an office staff which consists of integrity and the desire for fair and balanced elections. Interviews begin next week for the election assistant and a part-time voter registration clerk. I mentioned this because we were working on a very, limited staff, and that was just we had to push through and do what we had to do. So I'm very proud of all of the staff and the effort that they put forward for this election. Also, what could we do better? Conduct a poll worker outreach to increase the number of poll workers. Do that earlier on, so we're not right at election time trying to find poll workers. The training time for poll workers will be extended. Training lasted approximately 2 to 2.5 hours. It's probably going to be extended to a 3 to 4 hour training. Just talking to other counties as well, that's pretty much the time frame that's used to train. Due to the Dominion equipment, there's a lot more to elections now, a lot more paperwork for the poll workers, and they need additional time to be able to work with the poll pads as well and become accustomed to them. Summary, the November 2nd, 2021 election was successful, but we did experience some issues that we had control over and some we did not. However, there were no issues that prevented voters the right to vote or interfered with the outcome of election results in the process itself. Our staff looks forward to taking the lessons learned and the knowledge acquired during the November 2nd election and build on this experience for the next election for Spalding County. This is not really the very end. Redistricting update is not a part of an after-action review report, but I did want to, as we all know, redistricting is coming up. I've spoken with County Manager Steve Ledbetter, and the redistricting of the county will be the same, the lines, as the Board of Education. Everything is scheduled to move forward to our local legislators, and once the January session opens, the bill will be ready for approval. We have requested, and the state has opened a training redistricting portal for us in the office to begin practicing on entering required information for voters that are affected by redistricting. And that concludes my report.
Well, Kim, so if we're starting on August 3rd or August 4th and doing an election, in November, the highest kudos for pulling it off, particularly having to hire and train staff and replace, well over half of your poll managers and workers. So I just can't thank you enough. And,
Thank you.
and I know you have been working your tail off. And
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody else
Absolutely.
definitely agrees there.
Thank you, Kim.
Herculean effort.
Thank you.
The only extra after action would, for me, on election night would be to, and we all were running around, would just be to make sure that we have, 2 lines or 3 lines, because it seemed like all the poll managers were returning with the stuff at one time.
Yes.
So making sure that we can process those a little
Yes,
bit.
we would definitely have a
a
better
little bit
process
faster.
in the
That-
future.
That's the only thing I could think of that we could have done to speed things up that
Right.
night, but,
Definitely.
Just a point of personal privilege, if I might.
Sure.
I might add that the Sheriff's Department was at every single polling location, and I went to every location on Election Day. I spoke with the deputy on duty as well as the poll managers, and a lot of voters came to me and said how much they appreciated seeing the deputies there at the polling locations. So you guys and gals, thank you so much for all of that work. If you were one of the ones out there, thank you.
It's okay, yeah. I'll allow it. Yes, yeah, and also all the new poll managers and workers in the room and out there on YouTube. Thank everybody. Okay. Do you have any other comments, James?
We've had a kind of an exciting time.
Try to get in the mic just for the.
We've had a kind of an exciting time since we got into this business. And you know, with what's going on with Dominion and some of these other things, it may not be over yet, I think. But Kim, anything that we can do to help you, you let us know, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
All right. So both Roy's report and this report will be available along with the minutes when they get published to the website, correct? Okay. Very good. Okay, I think I've lost my agenda, shuffling papers. I've got it, okay. All right, so, all right, so we're doing comments and then adjourn for, okay. So next up is board member comments. Roy, do you have anything else to add?
No.
James, do you have anything else to add? Okay. Yeah, I will withhold any further comments either, and we're gonna a motion will be in order to go into executive session. The county attorney requests an executive session to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement claims, administrative proceedings, or other judicial actions brought or to be brought by or against the Spalding County Board of Elections and Registration or any officer or employee in which the Board of Elections or any officer or employee may be directly involved as provided by OCGA 5014-21.
I move that we go into executive session, Mr. Chair.
James moves.
For the reasons stated.
For the reasons stated. James, second, Roy. Okay, we're in executive session. Thanks, everybody.
We'll be back.
Do you want to turn your phone on?
Are we going elsewhere?
Yeah, we're gonna go into the main room because we're still live.
Conspiracy theory.
welcome back, everybody. Carl, good to see you. The chair would entertain a motion to,
Come out of executive
come out of executive session, yes. I've ran out of,
I'd be happy to second it.
Roy made the motion, James second, all in favor? Regular session is, back in session, and,
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
okay,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Okay.
I promise that'd
Thank
be the
y'all.
last one out, so.
All right, Not gonna have to move here slowly. I think we need to, so here's a blank sign-up sheet. We're still odds to say. Good night.
Good night.
Actually, I was trained in the Army to say good evening, you don't say good night to another soldier.
Yeah, that's.
Kim, here is my
November 8th.
folder. Let's get
Okay.
everybody's.
And I need to know, do you all want the old things to come out?
I take my stuff out every time. Everybody
Okay.
is probably different though.
Yeah.